the private nature, but our thoughts and prayers are with the gentleman who suffered a medical issue prior to the game. We're hoping for the best. I can't comment any further. Our team, our organization have sent out a lot of prayers to him, to his family, and as we get further updates, we're hopeful that it trends in a good direction, but that's all I can really say right now. Obviously a very, very difficult time, but very proud of the team rallying around him, rallying around each other, the medical staff, security team, arena ops, the Spurs, collaboration with them, the league, figuring out, a course of action that's not ideal, from a basketball standpoint when life is put right in front of your face in that type of circumstance. So, as I said, we are praying and praying and praying, and I hope everyone is. The power of prayer is the most powerful thing out there, and I hope everyone's doing the same for this gentleman.
Taylor, along those lines, just before the game, it was shortly before tip-off, just what's the process like for you as the coach of the team in that moment as you're trying to gather the team together and then prepare to come back out and play basketball?
There's no precedent for it. There's no script for it. I think everyone in the building was pouring their hearts and hopefully praying for the gentleman while those individuals were coming to be there for his aid and rescue him. And then when there was a moment to process everything, which didn't naturally just present itself, it was getting together with the officials, getting together with Mitch, Zach and Brian got together, our GMs and execs getting together with the league and kind of just taking step by step, but no one wanted to rush to anything. Everyone wanted to be very sensitive to the situation and provide the right space and respect for what was going on. And as we got the necessary updates, we just kind of took it step by step and then collaboratively came to a decision to go out there and continue playing basketball, given that, there were positive steps, but that's the most I can share in terms of his medical condition right now. But the information allowed us to then make the decision to go out there and play some basketball.
Taylor, no way to really measure it, but that felt like the most 1-5 Zach pick and roll you guys have run maybe all season. One, what led to that decision? Two, in this offense, which is so kind of freelance and reactionary, where there aren't a ton of pick and rolls and DHOs and things like that. How do you incorporate that while also sticking to the principles that make this thing go?
Yeah, it's been something we've been discussing a lot internally, trying to figure out the balancing act, and obviously with Ja's supreme skills in the pick and roll department, playmaking, scoring. I thought he set a tone tonight. On the ball and off the ball. Knocking down shots, playing with pace in the full court. That chemistry with Zach is something that we've been needing to unlock. Been spending time on it over the last couple of weeks, especially as we've kind of figured out our principles and pace and how this is an advantage creator for us. And we got to see that tonight. Obviously, Ja benefiting, getting downhill, getting shots off, assist to Zach, and then eventually that's going to open up closeouts to the three-point line because of the gifts that Ja has in those situations. So it's awesome to see, and we're going to keep pouring into that and find that balancing act so that we can be diversified, as I've been talking about, with our offense overall.
Coach, right here. Gigi came off the bench with 27 points. I believe this is like his best showing this season so far. With this being his 8th game back, can you just talk about where he's came from?
Yeah, just progress every day. His head has been in a great place in terms of just how do I continue to just take strides. It's been a long time. He's realistic, having played competitive basketball. But I see the strides. He's coming in with the right mentality, the right energy. He and I talked about it the other day. It's like, man, I just got to continue to find a way to just make an impact on defense. I got to rebound more. He's talking about the winning plays. And I said, man, you do that, that's going to unlock everything on the offensive side because I feel like you're making great reads. The other night, knocked down a three, but some of his playmaking where he was pushing the ball 3 seconds at the three-point line, gets a piece of the paint, boom, kick out to a corner three or kick out to the wing, just having the whole floor in front of him. And then tonight, being in a lot of closeout situations, got downhill a lot. Obviously, his space reads on the perimeter, knocking down shots was big. And the fact that he's still staying locked in on the defensive side, just getting his groove back because it's a guy that we want to continue building up to be a really, really good two-way player.
At this point in the season, how important are these games, especially when you can get Ja and Jaren kind of cooking at the same time, and how important is it to be able to find the right, dosage for each of them over the course of a game?
Yeah, it's awesome having those guys on the floor and figuring out as the overall offense, but where those guys their strengths and where they're having their advantages, they're very important right now. the whole league's going to have a little bit of a break, for a week, but then you're right back to it. So the momentum you can build up, whether it's practice time, shoot around time, film work, individually, collectively, and then obviously the games themselves. That's the best teacher of all. So I think it's important for us. I think we've got 4 games left before the break, 4 or 5. Like, we just got to keep taking it day by day, where our guys are continuing to come in with the right mentality, the right energy. You just talked about Gigi. That's the whole roster. This time of year, you can be like, oh, let's just get to the break. The break doesn't give you really a break. You're back into it in 7 days pretty quickly. So we want to build up the momentum. We want to keep putting the work. Our guys are thinking big picture here. Even right now, these games are supremely valuable to get those reps and that chemistry and that development.
Coach, at this point of the season, everyone's pretty banged up trying to get to the All-Star break. But when Ja, what he's been going through the last few weeks, what do you think how do you think he's managed that, and how do you think he's handled the situation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, someone asked me, of course it's, frustrating for him, missing the last 2 games because he was building up some rhythm. But, what I saw behind the scenes, the 3-4 days that he was out was phenomenal. What he was doing in the training room, in the weight room, doing everything possible. And I said it before the game, like, with the ball in his hands as much as possible to get out there. Obviously it was, game time decision the other night against Milwaukee, but then had the juice tonight, and it's awesome. So to him to have that rhythm and not miss a beat when he, misses 2 games and comes back, hopefully this, gets him some momentum runway before we get to the break. And obviously, the impact he can make, on both sides of the floor and be the engine to what we do. So, just proud of, his mentality through the last couple of days and coming out with this great, performance.
Taylor, so these 3 matchups you've had with the Spurs so far, you've adjusted to Wembanyama by having space just all over the floor. You did it early in this game, but putting Santi Aldama in earlier than usual for Edie. What do you really just have to account for with Wembanyama and the adjustments, just because of his size and the ground that he can cover defensively?
Yeah, you've got to move him. He's one of the best defensive players in the game. His on-offs when he's on the floor, it's not just, the block shots, it's the altering of your movement, on the offensive side. So we have success when Zach can be out there at different moments. Offensive rebounding, I thought he had some good stretches there in the 4th quarter with Wembanyama on the floor. But then, the first 2 matchups really showed us some stuff with Santi and Jaren, from a matchup standpoint defensively. But then offensively, just the pace that we can play, spreading him out, having him to think about where he's rotating from, who he's rotating off of. He was even on Scotty for a stretch there, and that created some confusion, when we were playing kind of our stretch units. So it's data, collection right now. It's been successful for us, and you got to throw different things out there from a defensive game plan, matchup standpoint, but what we can drive on the offensive side to really get him moving around and maybe not be as much of a presence, because he still is, no matter who you put on the floor.
Jaren on a nightly basis now is their opponents are bringing a lot of double teams. I'm just curious. I think he had a stretch during that 3rd quarter where he made a few good passes to Gigi. How has he progressed there, and how much of that is the reps versus just thinking the game maybe differently than he did before?
Yeah, it's awesome to watch Jaren's evolution as a player, playmaker, obviously dynamic scorer, perimeter post. We've been talking about that all season long, but they were throwing double teams from the baseline, from the top. It's kick out to Gigi at the top. It's the skip passes to the weak side. He's doing it every day, working on this. Seeing those moments where he still can break through and he gets fouled. I think he had 7 free throws by halftime. But it's been awesome. He's invested in that part of his game, his growth, seeing the floor, poise, patience, aggressiveness, and force has unlocked a lot, for him. But also, hey, throw a double team at him. He's going to find teammates, and if they're making the right airtime decisions on the backside, we get a layup or a 3 on the backside and get a quality possession. So playmaking through him has been awesome. When you add that to what Josh absolutely capable of, see what Des and Luke have been doing over these last couple of weeks, it just gives us so much versatility, but guys that are playing at a very high level in that playmaking spot.
Yuki had a hustle game this afternoon, and he got the highest assist score. And didn't you feel hesitating to use him tonight?
Yeah, we wanted him available, not knowing second night of a back-to-back. Obviously, a couple guys, banged up here, but great opportunity for him to continue to develop, and then, staying ready, when he gets his opportunities with the Grizzlies, and you never know what that presents. But the fact that he's playing with the pace, the assists like you talked about, that playmaking, he's been making so many strides over these last couple of games with the hustle. Great. Good.
with Gigi, we see the scoring, but you talked a lot about wanting to see him take those steps on the defensive end. We see he's starting to, get a little more active with his steals and things like that. Just what have you noticed about his progression on the defensive end in terms of where he is as opposed to where you want him to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's still got to be his first priority when he steps on the floor. He and I talk about that. His athleticism, physicality, he's added muscle that, as I think someone asked me when he was first coming back, it's like he's still got to learn how this new body of his is going to be deployed out there offensively and defensively. But he was on Wembanyama for stretches. He was on Keldon Johnson, who had given us problems in the first two matchups. I thought we did a pretty solid job on him. So playing with that physicality, lateral movement, on-ball presence, I see his engagement, with his mind. And then we tack on like when he starts getting really good with the defensive rebounding, which we need to unlock. But he's got size, physicality, and all the reps that he got last year are still in that mind. And now we just got to get those reps right now in the games, knowing that he can be, as I said, a really good two-way player for us.
Thank you.
Great, thanks everyone, appreciate it.
Coach.